Thank you very much, Johnny. Time for the first of two NASCAR Nationwide Series practices here on the mile and a half Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Yep, Danica Patrick is in the field this weekend. The shy one, Kenny Wallace, giving her some last-minute tips before practice starts. First couple of weeks, the learning process for Danica Patrick has been tough at times. She makes it through, almost makes it through some contact at Daytona. She finished 35th, frustrated after that contact on the racetrack. And then last week at the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, she struggled to keep up, went down a lap early. And a learning practice continues for the open wheel star.
Slowing it down right there, 4,000 second right there.
So Danica finishes 31st on the 2-mile Auto Club Speedway and left in a hurry after the race was over last weekend. Let's go to Wendy Venturini.
Well, good morning, Steve Burns. Now, Danica Patrick got in the car just moments ago. The paparazzi were in full force already here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Now, how did she prepare going into this third race in her nationwide career? Well, just like last week at California, she went over lots of videotape. She looked at many in-car cameras from past races. She also got a ride in the pace car this morning, just like she did at the Auto Club Speedway last week, to prepare herself for getting out on this racetrack. Now, I just spoke to Tony Uri Jr., crew chief for Danica Patrick. He said they're going to spend most of this first practice getting Danica comfortable with the race car, letting her get laps on. Laps are very important for Danica at this point. The second practice will be more about tuning in that race car and getting it more up to speed. So that's the goal here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Steve?
Thank you very much, Wendy Venturini. Glad you folks are with us. Steve Burns, Kyle Petty, and Jeff Hammond. And Danica just one of 51 drivers here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And Jeff, one of the big issues besides a big field, we've got weather tomorrow, chance of rain. So how does this affect what these teams and drivers do for these two practices?
Well, to me, you've kind of thrown qualifying out the window. For the guys who need to qualify every now and then, they're going to have to go back that way. But if you're locked in, if you're one of the top 30 cars, you're going to totally not worry about qualifying come Saturday. Take full advantage of making these practices count, thinking about what the track conditions are, especially right now because the racetrack's green. And if it rains tomorrow, that's probably what they'll wind up seeing. If everything gets dried out, it'll be a green racetrack. So they're going to have to work on getting their cars balanced out right now and getting these drivers happy, if that's at all possible. Glad to have you here this week, driver.
Sorry, man.
Finally got the email.
Yeah, I got it this week. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My shirt matches too. That's good.
Much like the Auto Club Speedway in California, this is a great racetrack for Roush Fenway Racing. 5 nationwide wins here.
Yeah, it is a great racetrack for Roush Fenway. And you look at the guys they have. You got Carl, you got Biffle, you got those guys. But I talked to Biffle this week. We were doing some stuff for Speed for the race day show. And he said, Kyle, he said, it's picked up right where it left off last year. You know, Joey Logano and Kyle Busch and those Toyotas are killing us, man. We can roll through the corners. We're better handling-wise. But when they get those Toyotas in a straight line, those things go. That's a little bit different here. The corners are a little bit tighter. And I think if the Roush cars get through the corners good, they'll be competitive here.
Interesting that he says the Roush or the Gibbs cars are that good that soon.
That soon.
All right, we have a smoker on the racetrack. Practice has just started here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Take a look at what happened. It's the 43 car, Scott Lagasse Jr. Caution is out. For the meantime, we'll go to Randy Pemberton, also in the garage.
You know, that's exactly why the guy you're looking at right down here now, Kevin Harvick, didn't roll out early in practice. He likes to give everybody an opportunity to go out there and see if anybody's got any loose bolts or possibly some loose oil line hanging around. So still back in the garage area. Kevin Harvick, of course, driving his own number 33 Rheem.com heating and air conditioning Chevrolet. Just talked to Kevin before he strapped in. Very excited about the season. Why wouldn't he be? Leads the Cup Series point standings after a terrific run 1 week ago in California, finishing second out there with a big duel between he and Jeff Burton. But as far as the Nationwide Series car here at Las Vegas, he's pretty optimistic they're going to have a great run. They're building better and better race cars. I talked to him about, could you possibly run the full season in the Nationwide Series? You know, it is all about funds, and he said, I'm going to run all the races that are coupled with Sprint Cup events. So we expect to see him at Bristol in a couple of weeks running dual duty there. But as far as this racetrack here, he's going to get seat time just like anybody else. Danica Patrick, as well as Paul Menard, guys like that, just trying to get seat time to get better. But Kevin Harvick, as you know, very good here at Las Vegas. They're also on the same tire that they'll run in the Cup Series, so he thinks they'll gain just a little bit out of that as well. So Kevin Harvick now rolls out and getting ready to go on the racetrack, guys.
Randy, 11 drivers doing double duty here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're under caution. We'll be back in just a few minutes to Las Vegas. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide Practice from Las Vegas is brought to you by Hamburger Helper. 1 pound, 1 pan, 1 tasty meal. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, Enter It. Back underway for the first of 2 NASCAR Nationwide Series practices. Temperature 54 degrees, and it's getting cloudier as the day goes on. And we mentioned at the top of the show, threat of rain here tomorrow. Well, there's the new father, Carl Edwards. His daughter Annie was born this week to he and his wife Kate, so congratulations to them.
Got a chance to speak to him in the garage area this morning about that. And he was just, I mean, he's on cloud 9 right now, running around like a proud papa. But he said, Jeff, she asked me, I asked her, I said, how you feeling? She said, I'm feeling good. And he says, is it anesthesia really? Is it working okay? And he said, all of a sudden, I kind of looked over on the other side of the sheet because she had to have the C-section, and they were already doing the incisions. He looked back here and said, that stuff must be working.
A lot of information.
A lot of information.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Carl's obviously never been in that situation before.
No.
And once she hears that he's talking about it, he may never be in that situation again.
Okay. He cut it off right there, folks. But he was just so excited about being there. He said it was an amazing thing to watch his daughter being born. He said it was just, you hear about it. Kyle, you've been there. Steve, you've been there. But again, to see that excitement is really cool.
You know, we talk so much about racing here, and here's Carl coming in. But we talk so much about the sport and what they do on the racetrack. But these guys having kids and getting married and their lives are changing, they realize the sport's part of their life, but it's not the main thing in their life. There's other things that are as important or more important, and having these kids, that's a big deal, man. There's so many. I'm not even going down to the garage area to drink water because there's so many pregnant people in the garage area. I'm telling you, I'm staying away from the garage area until this passes.
Go back to the garage and Randy.
Just a quick update on Scott Lagasse Jr. here, where Baker Curb Racing in the 43 that caused that caution. They're still underneath the car checking it all out, but they believe it was a loose oil pressure line, so no big deal. Certainly not fatal here in this early practice session. Scott hopefully back in the car here in just a few moments, guys.
All right, thank you, Randy. That's good news for the 43 team and Scott Lagasse Jr.
Remember we had problems with that Carl having an issue like that. Brian Scott, I think it was last week, he had a heat exchanger with an oil line problem. He oiled down the racetrack quite a bit.
Scott Speed set the track qualifying record here a year ago. Kyle, 182.451 miles per hour.
You know, I like the way the racing starts. You know, you go to Daytona with these cars, then you go to a 2-mile California, then you go to a 1.5 miles. You step your way down. But it's almost as you step your way down, you step the speed up. That's what amazes me.
The degree of difficulty.
Yeah, the degree of difficulty and the speed. I mean, you feel like, I'm telling you something, this is one of those places when you go off in turn 1 here and you get this long run down the straightaway, it's a fast little racetrack. And in these cars, they keep these things wound up so much through the corners. It is truly amazing the lap times they run here.
Here's one of these guys that drank the water.
I was going to say, Kyle better stay away from them too. Brendan and his wife Tatum are expecting their first child in September.
I was hanging out with his father and mother, Michael and Paula Gahn, the other night down at the South Point, and to listen to those two talk about expecting their grandchildren. And the bizarre thing is, his sister Katie announced they were going to have children 1 week earlier. So they're going to be
Brendan's sister.
Brendan's sister right there. So they're going to have 2 coming into the Gahn family as far as grandparents is concerned about at the same time in October.
He's a wealth of pregnancy information.
He is a wealth. This is good. I feel like I'm on the set of Oprah.
I feel like I'm on The View. I feel like Barbara Walters on The View.
This is so good.
But I mean, let's
shirt match.
Let's diverse back and talk about racing. This right here is the backup car that they had on the truck last week for California. Brendan did a little bit more damage to his primary car than he wanted to, so they worked on this car over the last 2 or 3 days. We talked about the number of teams here, 51 cars here, 38 came to Las Vegas, and Brendan and his old organization has a shop right here at the racetrack. So they had the two Wallace cars along with several other teams over there working on their race cars to get them dialed in this week.
And that's what I was going to say. Brendan and he and his dad and that whole organization, can't tell you how many times teams have come from California straight over here and used their shop, and they just open it up, parts, pieces, tools, everything, and let you work there 24/7. Because in Vegas you can work 24/7. That's the way it rolls out.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Wendy, I'm going to leave you out of any reference to pregnancy.
I've been laughing at you guys down here. It's a good thing my mic wasn't open. Yes, Brendan Gaughan did open up his shop to a lot of teams. I heard a lot of crew members that were busy at work on the Cup side during this week. But let's talk about who's busy at work on that racetrack. It's Danica Patrick. Less than 10 laps run here at Las Vegas so far. The only feedback that we've heard from Danica is about her steering wheel. Keep in mind, last week we documented it quite a bit, guys. The video that we saw from her in-car camera at California, where she had the steering wheel really high in the position. Well, she moved it down by the end of the week, and she said now here at Las Vegas, the most difficult thing is getting comfortable with the new steering wheel position. Also keep in mind, she was in an Indy car earlier this week doing some testing in her Indy car. Back and forth between two forms of motorsports, different steering wheel positions, plus a new racetrack for Danica. I'm sure it's a lot to handle, a lot to take in, but this practice is all about laps.
Have I mentioned she's going to be on trackside tonight at 8:30 Eastern? Just maybe the first time I've said it.
No, but not a bad showing right on the get-go there. She's 25th quickest.
Take a look at the Toyota track description. It's 1.5 miles. And Kyle, I want you to talk about the fact that they changed the banking here. When this place opened back in '97 for the Nationwide Series, just 12 degrees at the end of 2006. The trucks were the first one to run on. They added 8 degrees in the banking. How much did that help the racing here?
A ton. You can't stress how much just 8 degrees changed this racetrack. This is a 1.5 mile racetrack, and at 12 degrees, it was a 1.5 mile flat racetrack. Okay, and this front stretch, the D-shaped ovals that we have and that Bruton and those guys have built, when you start looking at them, it is amazing. You've got to have some bank to hold you when you get to turn one, and at 12 degrees, you had no bank. These guys would go in, you were trying to get that thing turned, and it would not turn, then snap loose, and I mean, it was an incredibly difficult place to drive.
And you say 8 degrees doesn't sound like much. It looks like it there.
8 degrees is a ton there when you look at it. And look, this is geometry, and I flunked geometry, so let's be honest about it. I know there's a difference between 12 and 20. You know what I mean?
The track,
that's
the track narrowed up a little bit, but at the same time, it got more racing.
The track, just because the track got narrower, doesn't mean that the racing got worse. And
exactly.
The point is, those guys were having to use every bit of the track at 12 degrees. At 20, there's a groove out there, and that's important. You see these guys, they go in the corner, they get down right on the white line trying to get through 1 and 2. Now, race time, these guys will run all over the racetrack, and that's what's good about the 20 degrees of banking, because you've got enough bank to hold you and search around and find a place. As we watch the one car, he's about a lane up right here. But that's what's good about this racetrack, is you can search for different grooves as the race goes.
Kyle, let me ask you a question. You've raced a lot at Atlanta. You've raced a lot at Texas and Charlotte. Does this track remind you of any of the tracks that are similar as far as Bruton Smith is concerned?
No, that's what's so cool about this racetrack. I think Eddie Gossage did a great job at Texas. When you look at Texas, you say Charlotte, and then you get out there and drive it, and you're like, my God, this is not Charlotte. But this place is totally different. It's not anything like Kansas. It's not anything like Texas. It's not anything like Charlotte. It's not anything like any place they run. And I think Vegas did a great job of differentiating itself from what the other Bruton tracks were.
James Busher in the one car right now, 14th overall.
Struggling getting over the bump.
Let's go back to the garage and Randy.
Well, Brian Vickers off to a terrific start in the Nationwide Series. Currently sits 6th in points, although he will not run the entire schedule. But the Dollar General car here at Las Vegas, very, very good. Turned 7 laps. It's neutral to a little bit free, so they came in, went ahead and changed the right rear spring, softened that up just a little bit. Try to take a little bit of that looseness out. Brian Vickers getting ready to roll back out here momentarily. That's the update on Vickers.
Yeah, Reed Sorensen's going to be in that car for 23 races this year. And another look at adjustments for Danica.
And I'm going to say something. Wendy did a great job, because she talked about her running an open wheel car. And then, Jeff, before we even went on air, Jeff was talking about how you guys had talked about the steering wheel. I can't tell you how it throws you off when you move your steering wheel. When a driver gets a seat location and a steering wheel, it's kind of like jumping in your grandmother's jumping in your grandmother's road car. My grandmother was only 5'2", okay? So I'm saying, unless your grandmother played in the WNBA. So I'm just saying, it's like getting in somebody's car and the seat's in a bad location. You need to get comfortable so you can feel everything in that car. And with that off just a little bit, I can't tell you how hard it is to go fast because you're just not comfortable.
You know, you say that. I've worked with Darrell Waltrip and Terry Labonte and you know, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, I say. Driver's seat location, steering wheel location, especially with Darrell. I moved the seat a little bit, and Wendy, when you do that, all of a sudden we'll pick up a half a second. Is that what they're trying to do here with Danica?
Yeah, if I could be the ears on the 7 radio communication, the first thing she says, I can't drive like this. Like you said, she needs to move the steering wheel. She feels like she's sitting on top of it. Well, on top of that feedback, it's about the arc in the turn. She's arcing it too much. Now, you saw Landon Castle standing outside her race car with Danica Patrick. He said, you know what, Danica, I'd rather see you with too big of an arch to start with than too shallow here at Las Vegas. He said that way we can kind of zone you in on the race car. They are making some valence adjustments as well, but right now it's getting Danica comfortable in that race car and also getting feedback from a driver, Landon Castle.
You know, you're talking about the steering wheel location, and I found this interesting because I thought she had her steering wheel, this is from a stock car driver's perspective, a little high at Daytona. But then I realized this, and if you watch the open wheel drivers, if you watch Cup drivers drive between 9 and 3 on the top of the steering wheel. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. IndyCar drivers and open wheel drivers, they'll drive on the bottom. They'll drive 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They hold the steering wheel from the bottom and turn their car that way a little bit different. So they try to pull the car into the corner, where we tug the car into the corner from the top of the steering wheel. They'll do it from the bottom a little bit. And she's used to that type of driving. She's used to having her hands on the steering wheel in a certain location. And if you get it too low, she can't get her hands there. She doesn't feel comfortable. And that's driver preference, straight up. But for her to get better, she has to be comfortable in her environment, and then she can start making those subtle changes.
Well, Greg Biffle's the fastest here in practice. He's followed by Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Michael Annett in the 15, Kelly Byers, and Kevin Harvick. Stay with us. It's the wildest collection of talent ever assembled at NASCAR tracks. Singers, dancers, comedians, and a whole lot more. Fast Track to Fame premieres this Monday at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
Hey, I got some hot information. Guess what? I saw Kyle Petty with a guitar last week in California. I think he's getting tuned up for an audition.
Fast Track to Fame. No, look, I'm not talented enough to be. I thought that was the garage area of Fast Track to Fame.
I thought I was reading a promo for Trackside.
I know, man. That was the wildest talent ever assembled.
Was it going to be like a gong show?
Okay. If I was on it, it would be a gong show. Okay, let's be honest. Okay.
It's Jason Leffler in the 38 car. He is 8th overall right now. We're about 22 minutes into what is really a pretty brief practice, guys. It's just a 50-minute practice. The second practice is an hour and 20 minutes, but this one's a short one.
Jason was right over here at the dirt track last night running a sprint car for a little bit, where he kind of like cut his teeth.
Yeah, it amazes me. I talked to Biffle, and you know, he was talking about Kyle Busch and Scott Speed and some of the guys from the Nationwide Series. They were out running sand buggies this week, out in the desert. And I'm like, you know, that amazed me. You would think that chasing a championship and running this stuff, the owners would say, okay, boys, why don't we like crochet or something? You know what I mean? Why don't we line dance? Why don't we do something? But these guys love to drive so much. They'll get in anything, anytime, anywhere, just to be able to do it.
Somebody asked Carl Edwards that question at Daytona. They said, one of the writers said, in your contract, do you have provisions stipulating that you can't do certain things that are dangerous? And he said, no, Jack Roush has a very simple explanation. If you don't race, you don't get paid.
That's the best way to put it right there. That's it.
Now,
last week's winner, Kyle
you're still
Busch.
thinking old school, like your daddy would never do anything like that.
But you know what? Here's what amazes me. We talked at Daytona, and Kyle Busch is out there, and like I said, Biffle said these guys that these two Toyotas, that the Gibbs Toyotas are just absolutely incredible. And you know, I thought I thought Logano did a great job last week. You know, he got just nudged there at the end. They got together. I felt like he came down a little bit on Biffle. That's just my opinion, but I felt like he came down a little bit. Then he got spun out at the end, but still, you know, you have trouble when you run fifth. How can you argue those points? These guys are just going to be strong all year long.
Kyle Busch, third overall, and Denny Hamlin, by the way, in the 20 car this weekend instead of Joey Logano. Hamlin right now 13th. Let's go back to Randy.
Kyle Busch on the racetrack, as you might expect. He's fast, obviously, up there on top of the board. Just talked to the guys after he rolled into the garage area. They did absolutely nothing to the car. Said he absolutely loves it. Just trying to get the valance, the front valance down on the ground exactly where he wants it. They went ahead and put some take feelers on the front of that just to find out where it's rubbing, if it's rubbing. They're trying to get it just exactly right, but loves the race car. Going on to about lap 11 now for Kyle Busch. Over here, Carl Edwards sitting here. Don't forget Drew Blickensturfer back on board as Carl's crew chief here. They went ahead and changed the left rear spring moments ago. He was loose, so they went ahead and changed that one, stiffened it up. They're working on the left front right now. Carl getting back out there in a moment, but likes his car as well.
I love that view of Kyle Busch looking up that way instead of from the side.
Yeah,
love that.
It's incredible. But where would Kyle Busch be on the? He's third on the chart right now, but he went out with what? Early. Did he have his transponder?
Yeah, we've had a hard time picking him up because his transponder wouldn't. He's now up the second quickest after running 13 laps. So
yeah, so think about where you would have been on new tires, because most of these guys set their fast lap on their first or second lap out. That's amazing.
He did. His fourth lap was his quickest.
He was so fast the transponder couldn't keep up.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
Back to Las Vegas right after this here on Speed. Tonight, Danica Mania takes over Sin City. Tune in as Danica Patrick and Juan Pablo Montoya stop by our ultimate Friday night house party. Don't miss NASCAR Trackside Live tonight, 8:30 Eastern, only on Speed.
Hey, why were you downplaying the 90? I mean, Juan Pablo, man, he's just as much of a star. He's a superstar on our show.
I emphasize the word "and" just to give the man respect.
All right, this ain't too good though, guys.
Former NASCAR Dash Series champion Johnny Chapman in the 92 have backed into the wall. Take another look at what happened.
Yeah, that's way. He spun way back in the corner, almost just past the halfway point. When you see it, that's just here he is down on. It's almost like
he clipped the apron.
Clipped the apron, unloaded the thing, and when it unloaded, then it's just around. Yeah, he's down on the apron.
Down on the apron. Got that left front down on the apron, and around it went.
And that was his first lap on the racetrack.
You're good. Got a yellow here. Come at you.
On board with Trevor Bayne. So while we won't step away, the cars are going to roll back. I thought we'd have a few minutes for Jeff Hammond to work on his Danica questions. Who's she going to sit next to? That's what we never figured out.
You know what? I'm going to be like Rhett Butler. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a
lying dog. You lie. You lie.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I thought she did a great job at California.
Yep.
You know, I really did.
Way.
Everybody talked about Daytona, but I thought she went to California, and on the 5 consecutive laps, you see her average right there. Yeah. She's 6th, and that's impressive right there to put together the five consecutive laps and to rank there in what these guys run. But at the same time, you know, she got out of everybody's way. She ran her race, and the most important thing when you're new to a series, any series, and I don't care what level driver you are, is to get laps in that car. And she got laps at California, and it'll transfer here. I look forward to take it up a little notch. She's not going to win the race here. Okay, let's be honest about it, but she'll take it up a notch here.
Kyle, you got to tell the story you were telling us in the hotel lobby that evening when I saw you with the guitar about what your daddy told you about getting lapped and how when people come around to lap.
Yeah, and this is the way my father taught me to drive. He said, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go out there and you're going to run. And let me say this. I got lapped within 18 laps at Talladega. Okay, I want you to think about Talladega unrestricted. Yeah. All right, but I got lapped by the King and Pearson and all these guys. But here's what the King said. When the leader laps you, try to stay behind him as long as you can. May just be one corner. Then after you run a little longer, then you get 2 corners in. Next thing you know, you've run 2 laps behind the leader. Now, he's going to drive off and leave you because he's a better driver. But when you can get and run consistently with a Pearson or a Petty or an Allison or those guys, then you know it's time to race. And it took me a couple of years to get to that point. Then somewhere along the line, I forgot how to do it. But at some point in time, you know, but that's the way you learn. You don't just learn going out and jumping in the deep end like that. But you do have to follow those people, and that was a pretty cool deal.
What's Tony Eury Jr. telling her right now? He's been in that window for ever since you started telling that story.
Yeah, but I think he's just trying to pace herself. I think she's done good. She's run the most laps. She's run 22 laps in this practice, more laps than anybody else. But that's what she needs. We're talking about rain tomorrow. You're talking about this and that. A lot of factors are playing in. This is not something. This type of racing is so new to her in every level. And look, when I went to Daytona, like I said, anybody can drive Daytona. I'm not a big fan of taking people to Daytona and saying, by God, they're a race car driver because they drove Daytona because of the rules. But I thought she did a very, very good job out in California.
You know what, Kyle? To your point, there is no shallow end here. She is in the deep end.
Yeah, and I said it before. Justin Allgaier, we had him on the radio show, PRN, at Daytona, and I said, what's the difference between jumping from ARCA to the Nationwide Series? And he said, it's like going from 4th grade straight to your senior year in high school. That's how deep. And let me tell you something. When you jump out of Nationwide into the Cup Series, you're in graduate school. You're at that level where you're professors now. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a totally different. It is a big step. But this is the deep end. When you're out there on the racetrack with Greg Biffle, with Carl Edwards, with Kyle Busch, with Brian Vickers, that's a deep end. Those are the best of the best that run on Sundays in the Cup Series, and you got to prove yourself on Saturday with them.
Wendy.
Well, the biggest change from that last time she was out was the steering wheel, and the crew guys in the 7 garage were smiles as you saw her pick up speed on that last run. They wanted to remind me the only thing we did was the steering wheel change. Now, right now, she feels like the right front felt a little bit rougher, like it's bouncing or chattering. That's the first time I've really noticed Danica using a lot more lingo that we use here in the NASCAR garage area. That's what I picked up on the radio communication so far this weekend at Las Vegas. And into the turn, she feels like she's carrying the throttle now, and she's been able to adjust her driving. They just made a left rear spring change, and she did comment one more time on that steering wheel on how it felt so much better. Tony Eury Jr. said, hey, there is no rule on where that steering wheel needs to be. It's wherever you feel comfortable.
All right, good point, Wendy. Let's take a look at her schedule. This is her last weekend of NASCAR competition until the middle of the summer. She'll come back for a nationwide race at New Hampshire, but leaving Las Vegas, it's back to the IndyCar Series. We'll be back right after this. Get NASCAR race and qualifying results and breaking news right to your phone. Stay up to date with Speed Mobile Alerts. Text NASCAR to Speed 3 or 773333 to sign up. The Nellis Air Force Base, a neighbor to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Part of the show here. Love watching those guys.
Part of our speed show.
Yep.
The way I look at it, Steve, every place we go, we try to speed it up.
It's Michael McDowell in the 81 car, and we go back to the garage and Randy.
Hey, the hammers and the saws are out for Johnny Chapman down here. We talked about 51 cars here trying to get ready to qualify. And I asked these guys, could this possibly be a backup car? No, because they don't have a backup car. So they're going to have to fix this thing, get as much track time as they can, and hopefully get qualified here at Vegas. But crush panels are out, and they're trying to get this thing repaired and get it back on the racetrack.
And that's a tall order for a team like that. We talk so much when you see the Cup guys or the top nationwide teams when they have trouble. But when you've got a single car and you're a single car effort, those guys, they put a lot of work in to get here, and you hate to see something like that happen.
Just want to have a shot to make the race, and that's not going to help them any at all.
This kid right here is a driver. Trevor Bayne is a driver.
He's a wheel man. He is
definitely, man. He is just a great kid. Got tons of personality, and just got on the thing at Daytona, got in one of those early wrecks. I think he's 13th or 14th on the chart right now. But this kid is going to be a kid that I think if you follow the Nationwide Series and then watch as he moves up, he'll be a top tier contender before long. He's what? 21, 19, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I remember when we interviewed him, I talked to him for a while, and I'm like, what are you, like 40? You know what I mean? And he's like 19. I'm like, you're killing me, man. You're killing me.
Kyle, my favorite story. Matter of fact, we did that ARCA race at Pocono. Parker Kligerman, he was in high school literally last year, and Larry McReynolds tells a story that Chris Carrier was his crew chief, Kligerman's crew chief, and Chris had called him to debrief after a race, and Parker was whispering, and he said, Parker, why are you whispering? I'm on the school bus. We're not supposed to have phones.
That's amazing, man. That puts it in perspective. That puts the whole sport in perspective in a lot of ways. But that's what's good about the sport, is that there's so many young, talented drivers that I'm telling you, man, you're hearing their name here today, during the nationwide practice and on this series, but you're going to hear it for a long time to come in the Cup Series.
Kyle, we hear all the time about it's a discussion or a conversation that's been going on for years. Should the Cup drivers be in the Nationwide Series? And Trevor Bayne, I thought, said it this week as well as anybody. Look, if I can race against Kevin Harvick, I'm going to get nothing but better.
Yeah, here's the deal. You know, you always want to play against people that make you better. And if you play against people you beat every week, you're never going to get – you get to the top of that heap, but you go no farther. If there's somebody out there, if you're shooting at Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick every week and you're 19 years old, my God, you're going to be the next Kevin Harvick and next Kyle Busch.
In the deep end of the pool.
Exactly.
That's it. Swim or drown.
Quickest three are in Fords. It's Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, and Paul Menard. We'll be right back to Las Vegas. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide practice from Las Vegas is brought to you by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, Enter It. My nephew designed a Ricky Bobby car.
Love, love.
It's a Ricky Bobby car. I love love.
I love love. That is just, you know, when I saw Ruderman walking around the corner there, everybody says they thought he was a fisherman or something. I thought he was like a cranberry farmer, like that cranberry commercial,
well,
you know, because he's got the waders on it, looks like.
That pink race car with the little kitty cats on it has 36,000 votes.
No way.
People have gone to Toyota Racing. They want him to drive that pink car with the kitty cats on it.
When I saw him, I was thinking about the commercial for the throat losses, Ricola.
Yeah,
the guy's got that.
Yeah, that's it. That's good.
What is he, a goat herder?
Yeah.
Is he a goat herder?
I love love.
I love love.
Need to work on the shop, I think.
Mike Bliss in the 40 car. He is 8th overall.
But you can see this car bouncing. You know, and you heard him say we might need to work on the shocks as he barrels. This racetrack, you know, it sets out here and it gets extremely hot in Las Vegas, and the sun just beats down.
No, it's only
this
115 to 20 degrees out here in the summer.
And this place just gets waves in it. You know what I mean? And there's nothing you can do about it.
Did
There's
you see him chase that car up the racetrack?
Because it just takes off. It chatters. When you talk about chatter, it's like dropping a basketball and watching it bounce, and as it gets slow, it just bounces faster and faster. And the shock velocity and the way these things are, they just bounce like that. This is Greg Biffle, last week's winner, man. And you know, I asked Greg yesterday, like I said, but he was like, he was looking forward to getting back in a race car because he felt like, you know, he's left a couple of races on the table this year.
Randy, he is the quickest.
Second, sorry. I don't pay attention.
Randy, he's the quickest one.
He thought he'd won because he won best in class.
He won best in class. That was what he thought. My bad.
18th lap of practice, Randy.
Yeah, you guys have too much fun up there. Hey, the Biff obviously likes the car a little snug, a little tight. They went ahead and, let's see, they softened the front bar a little bit, stiffened the right rear spring. Biff loves the car. It's all good. So just a couple of adjustments back onto the racetrack. Now the crew heads for pit road. Did anything happen to him? They're hauling.
No, he's
looks good.
Going into turn one, but this is only like the second time Biffle's been out this time. You know, he went out early in the practice, and then he's basically set out the whole practice just to see what it's like at the end of this practice.
Let the rubber get on the racetrack and see what the weather conditions look like. But I'd say right now, if the crew is making a big move to pit road, he's probably going to clean cut and a tire temperature, and they'll have to push him back in.
Average finish of 9th for the Biff here in 8 starts, a win and 5 top 5 finishes.
You'd like to have that record at a lot of places. That's incredible. But that's, you know, we talked at the top of the show about the Roush cars and how they've run here in the Nationwide Series with all their drivers.
It's Mike Wallace. He's got a milestone start this weekend, making his 350th Nationwide start.
Kyle, how many starts did you have before you way on up there? I know that.
I don't know, man. a lot.
A lot.
What are we trying to say?
700, 800?
You know, I'd like to add all the Wallace's starts together, because if you had Mike and Kenny and Rusty and now Steven, they got to have like 6,090 starts.
There you go.
Between
The Wallace
you
world
mentioned
right
it.
There it is. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen, in the Nationwide Series. There
Pat
you go.
Miller
and
was
Chrissy with
listening.
one. And Chrissy with one. There you go. Okay, once again, I can't add that fast, so do it at home, ladies and gentlemen.
That's 800, 920. That's
I
over
guessed-
1,000.
I
It's
guess
over 1,000.
800 for Kyle is 829.
829.
Way to go, Steve-O.
There you go.
Closing moments of NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. Let's go back to the garage and Wendy.
And Brendan Gaughan is done for this nationwide practice. Brendan, you've had a great start to your weekend announcing that you are going to be a daddy, but more importantly, you said you are in race mode right now.
You asked me how I was doing. I said, wow, our camera's really good. You're like, no, about the baby. No, this thing, it feels more like a Lexus today than it does a Toyota. I mean, this thing is absolutely awesome right now. It doesn't look it on the timesheet, but I mean, it's doing 36s, 37s from start to finish. And Brad and I, we're starting to get that chemistry, and the Toyota engineering starting to take over. It's starting to be a lot of fun.
All right, good luck to you this week. And I know everyone has been enjoying Brendan Gaughan's shop and making much use of it on the Cup side.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Kyle Busch, fastest of the Toyotas. We said 3 Fords, and then it's 4 Toyotas: Busch, Vickers, Leffler, and Michael Annette. We've had 9 different winners in 13 nationwide series races here.
Kyle, he didn't mind holding that thing out late and making a late entrance,
Way late.
making it pass.
Yeah, I'm not sure he knew what the 34 was going to do when he got there. But watch his car as it goes down in the corner. Watch this thing bounce just as it gets in right here. It just kind of sits there and just bobs, just up and down just a little bit. Then he pulls it down on the line, and it gets smoother on the exit. I don't know why the entrance here, there's not a tunnel under there, that part. You know, sometimes, a lot of times they'll blame, oh, it's bumpy because there's a tunnel under the racetrack. Tunnel's out over turn 2, and it's smooth as silk coming off of 2.
Oh, yeah.
But getting into 1, it is really bumpy right there.
You saw him reach up right there, Steve, and get a clean cut on that number 18 car. Should be about the end of his practice as far as this first session is concerned.
You know, it still amazes me that with all the technology, and we talk about simulation, and we talk about all the stuff that they have in this sport, that still the best way to work on these engines is to get a clean cut.
Oh, yeah.
And let your engine guy read the plugs. You know, it's the most antiquated system for tuning an engine is to read the plugs, but it's a lost art almost. And when you look at it, it is truly amazing that we all still do it.
Scott Riggs is real quick, Kyle. He is 6th overall. He just jumped up. Danica Patrick.
She's run 36 laps in this practice. Yes, she has. But again, guys, she's locked in, so getting laps is more important than anything else she's got going on here. Be her, again, final race for a while.
Well, and you said it, Jeff, at the top of the show.
I got a pretty big push now, so should I just pit, or I'll go to the checkered?
I will go and pit this time. Go and pit this time. 3107. That's cool. You told us what we need to know.
A lot of guys are concentrating on the race setup because, look, let's be honest, there's a good chance that they may not qualify tomorrow because of rain.
Well, that's the thing is I think a lot of these teams we've been watching, that's what they've been focusing in on. And in her case, what I'm thinking out of this last little comment from Tony Uri Jr., the crew chief, is they made a change in the car, and they made the car push. She felt it. And I think that's important, Kylie. They've got to give her some scenarios and make the car push or make the car bounce a little bit. I know they don't want to make it loose.
No, they don't want to make it, but she's got 37-lap tires. Nobody else is running anywhere close to that, so that's what they needed to do in this practice.
Exactly.
Well, nationwide practice is over. When we come back, let's see, Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and DW, I think their shirts all match us, so that's good. After the break, we'll catch up with John Roberts. Paul Menard is the quickest in this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. Stay with us here on Speed.